Hello, this is wmpyr. Oh boy, oh boy. I was looking at YouTube and I ran into this channel, which I think is an incredibly horrible channel. And that's why I'm making this video, because I'm hoping to help people not think this way, should I say it? Look, I'm not here to mudsling the channel, all right? That's not my goal, so I'm not even going to mention their name, but it's two dudes that are talking about martial arts, and it seems like their whole mentality is they want to expose the bullshit martial arts, bullshido type stuff, you know? And, it's disturbing to me the way they're doing it. They're two young guys, and in some ways it reminds me of myself back when I was training in martial arts, okay? And I'm not here to say that, I am a martial arts expert, my lineage is this, I'm awesome, listen to me. I'm not here to say that. The only thing I will say is this. I started officially training in martial arts in junior high, and pretty much never stopped since. It's just been ongoing. I never went on and off. It's just continuously been going. And right now I'm 40 years old. So that's the only thing I can bring to the table here, or I want to bring to the table here, and say, maybe as, kind of an old timer, maybe I could talk some sense and sensibility into some people, For me, this is a story about redemption, okay? And you might be like, what the heck are you talking about, redemption? Well, when I was training in the martial arts back in the day, I was obsessed with two things, and two things only: being practical and effective. I pretty much learned those two words from Bruce Lee, studying his martial arts philosophy and stuff. So I wanted to be practical. I wanted it to be effective. That's all I cared about. Everything else to me was a waste of time. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to see it. So I was only focused on those two. The interesting thing, though, was that at the time, in my college years, I was training in Aikido, on and off for 4 years. I was training in other martial arts styles, but for Aikido-wise, it was on and off for 4 years. And that's a style that these guys would definitely say is a bullshit martial arts, And I remember back in the day, one class, it was an Aikido class we came out of, and we practiced for that entire class. It was a small class that day, and for the entire class we practiced knife defense, right? And we had like one of those foam things, and it was cut like to about this long, a foot long, and we used that as a practice knife, and we just practiced on knife defense. And I think the instructor tried to make it a little bit realistic or something, but the techniques and the ideas were pretty much came from Aikido. So it was stuff that we had already been practicing and we were already very, very familiar with, but that added element of some kind of a realistic, I don't remember what it was, but that made the class a little bit more exciting. And afterwards, my friend was all excited. And I was like, man, wasn't that an awesome class? It's like, now I feel confident that I could defend against the knife. Isn't that great? And I was like, I don't know about you, but I can't defend against the knife. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? We just spent the whole class learning how to defend against the knife, and you don't think you can? And I was like, I absolutely know that I can't. And he was like, you're faster than I am. You think those techniques we just did don't work? And I was like, maybe they work for you, but not for me. And so, we tested it out. He grabbed, after class, he grabbed one of those foam things, and and I was like, dude, you come at me 110% with everything you got, and I'm going to go with everything I got to try to make the techniques that we just practiced work, okay? So let's go for it. So we did that multiple times, and I got cut up. End of story, It's pretty much, I knew that was going to happen. My friend was in shock, and I'm sorry to disappoint the guy, but, he was surprised that what he had learned didn't work, whereas for me, I knew it, because I was already used to looking at martial arts styles critically and going, that's going to work, that's not going to work. I was already used to that. Same with these guys. That's what these guys probably do, and that's what I did all day long, because like I said, I needed to weed out the bullshit from the real stuff, and the real stuff that I felt was valuable, I took it and I practiced it, and I constantly looked at myself and said, how can I make myself more effective, more practical? And I walked around with a chip on my shoulder. I walked around like Bruce Lee and Clint Eastwood combined. I had my baseball cap like down to here, like a baseball cap. And I had that gunslinger mentality. Anybody, anywhere, anytime. I walked around town that way. I walked around definitely in the dojo that way, But also at the same time, because I was definitely one of the more skilled guys in class, regardless of style, whatever style it was, because I did school hop. If I didn't see you as a threat, I was extremely helpful towards people. I was nice and I was very helpful, and maybe that's what these guys trying to do. They want to help other people. So at the core, they want to be nice, But if I thought you were a threat, then the room wasn't big enough for both of us. That was my attitude, So if I saw you as a threat, it was kind of like Predator, So if you were a threat to him, he's going to take you out. So that's kind of the mentality I had. So if you were there to learn and you wanted to have a good time or whatever, then I'm here. I'm going to help you out. I'll be your best uke, whatever. I will break down the moves for you and because I was more on the technical side, so that came natural for me, and I could help people in that manner as well. But if I thought that you were going to challenge me or something, then man, it was on, and I had a lot of challenge matches. And this basically what I was doing in my college years was I was having my own MMA matches, and of course this was before the term MMA even existed. So this is more like Vale Tudo. And the way MMA is today is kind of like it's turned into a brand. That's what it is now. It's so established now. It's solidified as a brand. So when you see MMA, you might see guys wearing these T-shirts and stuff, and you talk to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, I love the UFC. I train in Muay Thai. I train in wrestling. I train in BJJ." And there you go. That's a brand. That they could still totally suck. They could still not be able to fight a lick in a street fight, but just because they have the MMA brand, you know what I mean? Whereas to the old school that I came from, MMA was, mixed martial arts. That's to me just cross training. To me, that's no different than a guy saying, I train in Taekwondo, Aikido, and Sistema. It's just a bunch of styles you put together. So, whereas for me, the way that I prided myself was I was MMA in a sense that I'm a guy that fought guys from other styles. That to me was MMA, mixed martial arts matches. So it's MMAM actually, To me that was the real definition of MMA was you fought against dudes. You've actually fought against guys from other styles. Not I've practiced in these styles, a bunch of different cross-train. To me, that didn't mean anything, So it was that the way that I did the matches back then was I had a background in Thai boxing, and that was my to-go style, was Thai boxing. So that's what I used against you. Yes, I could fight on the ground. I had some grappling skill even back then, but my main thing was the Thai boxing. And yes, I had knowledge in other styles, but the main thing I would use, like I said, was the Thai boxing. And if, I faced guys that were freestyle wrestlers, heavyweight boxer, a ninjutsu guy, taekwondo guy, judo guy, guys from other disciplines, and some were multiple disciplines too. And then some, I remember one dude, he was just a football player. So really no discipline other than he was just a football player, a high school football player. Another guy was, he was interested in martial arts, but he was a biker. He was just a Harley Davidson biker guy, So but anyway, what I'm trying to say is fighting against different styles. And I did that. And to me, that is part of what helped me become, or see what is effective and what is practical, and that's what I was working on. And because I was doing that, my record, by the way, and dude, these matches are like, I'm not here to brag or anything, but I was 10-0, okay? 10 wins, 0 losses, but that really didn't mean shit. All that meant was that I couldn't handle a loss. My ego couldn't handle a loss. So I had some draws, and those were very convenient draws for me because I knew that if we kept going, I was going to get knocked out or something. So I was like, okay, we'll call it a draw, or something like that, So, it's just that I could not handle that, and my ego just got bigger and bigger, and being 10-0 and being there, one of the more skilled guys, and also everyone there looks at you as like you're the best fighter there. Ego was huge. I was extremely arrogant, and then I had that attitude of, I know what's practical and effective, you guys don't. If you want to know what that is, you come to me. And that's, I think, what these guys are doing. They have this kind of arrogance. I don't know if they have as much the background that I did at the time to back it up, but just because you can back it up doesn't mean anything. It's no excuse to act this way. I thought that I had reason to act this way because I had those challenge matches, and some were like, there were no rules, there were no weight classes and stuff. Some of the dudes I faced off against, I was a lightweight going up against a heavyweight in some cases, a freestyle wrestler that was a heavyweight boxer and stuff like that, and it's just, like I said, all that really resulted in, I did learn from that kind of stuff, but it resulted in me having a huge ego. And one day, I remember a good friend of mine came into class. Not into class. Came to my apartment to visit me, and he was a very talented Aikido guy. Also did other martial arts and stuff. And he was like, "Hey, let me show you this Tai Chi form that I learned." So he's doing this Tai Chi stuff, and I stop him, and I'm like, "Okay, what is that? What is that movement right there? How would you do that in a real fight? And he was like, I'm not really sure, or he would try to tell me, and I was like, no, wrong. You're completely wrong. This is how you do it. And I just kept cutting him and telling him, no, this is a practical application. No, you're wrong. This is how to do it. No, that's what you think it is. No, this is what everyone else thinks it is. They're all wrong. This is the practical application. And I just kept doing that over and over to the guy, and he took off. And later I said to myself, dude, you are a complete dick, and he's your friend. He's your friend that came in, wanted to talk martial arts with you, and you just completely just like dominated the guy, and you were a tyrant. You had a great opportunity where you could have had a great time, but instead you had to be the know-it-all. You had to be the guy, telling him that he was wrong and you're right. What a jackass. And then at that point I realized that I had a closed mind. Being practical and effective actually closed my mind. And I don't know if these guys can understand this right now, but the viewpoint that I had was like, it kind of the Zen type philosophy, where it's like the more you try to grab something, the more it slips away. So it was like I really felt at this time, the more I was trying to be practical, the more I was trying to be effective, because I was trying so hard, it was moving away from me. And I was like, this is no good. So I knew something was wrong. And I was like, I'm taking the fun out of martial arts. And that's, I know for sure that's not right, because in order to train in martial arts for a long time, it's got to be fun, It's got to be fun. If you hate it, then you're not going to last in it. So I was like, okay, I'm doing something very, very wrong here. My mind has become closed, and Bruce Lee always talked about having an open mind. So I know I'm off the track. Okay, so what can I do? I just got the yellow pages, looked up a capoeira school, and I went to a capoeira school. No offense to capoeira people, but at the time I felt like that's all dance. The acrobatics are meaningless. They sing and dance. It's not a real martial art. That's the way that I viewed it, and I don't think of capoeira that way anymore. So please don't get the wrong idea. But back then I did, because I was arrogant, I was an idiot, and so I went to this class and I told myself, dude, don't worry about being practical. Don't worry about being effective. Just enjoy the damn class. If you can't do that, what the hell's wrong with you, you know? So I went in there and I did just that, and I had a good time. I had a good time, and that was actually not the only capoeira experience that I had after that. I went to some other capoeira schools, and I actually met a dude who was from Brazil, who had a scar on his face, looked like a knife wound. And I mean, just the way he had killer eyes, just the way he behaved, and the way he did his techniques were very street-minded techniques of the capoeira. I've never seen a capoeira being taught that way, and he was from the streets of Rio. He was awesome. He looked like a guy I do not want to mess with on the street, for sure. He looked like a real street fighter, So there are dudes out there that are training in martial arts styles that you may think is completely ineffective, that you may judge the style as, oh, it's Wing Chun, oh, it's Kung Fu, oh, it's Wushu, it's Sistema, oh, these guys can't fight. You are gravely mistaken. There are some dudes that I have met, thankfully, along my, over the years, I've met some dudes that are like, lethal guys. Like, I remember this one guy who's a Taekwondo guy, that he was an awesome street fighter. I would not mess with this guy in the street, without a doubt, and he comes from a Taekwondo background. But I kid you not, he's going to spin, a razor fast spinning back kick, a jump spin back kick that razor accurate too, that'll just nail you in the nuts, and then the next one's to your face, I mean, he's just incredible, so there are guys like that out there. I remember sparring a guy who was a traditional Okinawan karate guy. All he does is like kata all day long, and then he goes and competes in tournaments that is just forms, using the bow staff, the sai, the tonfa. I thought, oh man, if I spar this guy with my Thai boxing, I'm going to destroy this guy. Boy, was I wrong. So there are out there. There's plenty out there. If you just haven't run into them, it's because you're not really looking for them. There's plenty out there. I remember this dude, he was a traditional Kung Fu guy. So he has the outfit and everything. He knows all the terminology. He makes his own, he didn't make his own, but he had like the traditional medicine, the dit that jiao and stuff like that. And it was almost to the point where he could like speak the language and stuff, right? But the dude is a Viking. I mean, I was like, what the hell are you doing learning traditional Kung Fu? I mean, you belong in MMA. I mean, you are a Viking. You should be grappling. You should be kickboxing. What the hell are you doing here? He came to my grappling school, my BJJ school, and it just didn't work out for the guy. But Kung Fu, for some reason, worked out for him. Maybe it was a balance, that because he was so yang, it just worked out for the guy. It made sense to him for some reason, the chi stuff, that made sense to him. And this is a guy who was just continuously banned or disqualified in tournaments for excessive contact in the Kung Fu tournaments. So I was just like, what the hell, man? But like I said, the study of doing the forms and stuff like that, it just worked out, So how could I judge that? Judge people and say, this style's not effective, blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't be training in this style. You would be better in this other style. How could I say that? That's, there's so many different personalities, cultural background, blah, 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 and there, to me, there's always a time and place for everything. So, if you're a couch potato, go to your local MMA gym. You probably won't last a day, okay? So in that case, you might want to start off with a different style. It doesn't mean that style's shittier. It just means that for that time, that's a good style to practice, So it's just so different like that. But I hope these guys, can understand the kind of stuff, and the people watching this stuff, and that are kind of thinking along those lines as these guys, because I used to think along those lines too, can understand what I'm saying now. It is a path of redemption. You are going to, because that's what martial arts to me is. If you do it correctly, like science, it is a self-correcting path. In order to self-correct, sometimes you make mistakes so big that you have to redeem yourself, hence the redemption. And like I said, I was becoming so arrogant from my fights and winning, and from the practical and effectiveness, thinking that I got this super razor keen eye and I got this sharp mind towards practical combat. It's thinking that and being arrogant that way. I thought I was something truly special, and I wasn't. And like I said, that actually closed the doors and made me close-minded, and actually limited my progression. So now, years and years later, that I changed my attitude, changed my way of thinking, I feel that I'm way better than I was before. I feel that I would wipe the floor with myself back in the day when I was walking around like Clint Eastwood meets Bruce Lee. The me today would wipe the floor with that guy, without a question. But I don't act that way anymore. But okay, real quick, the main difference that I could tell you with myself and these guys, even back then when I was super arrogant and all that, the main difference, yes, I was super critical, judging other people and stuff, had very negative attitude towards styles that I felt weren't how do you call it, practical and effective. But the main difference was, like I said, at the time I was training in Aikido, and that's crazy to think about it, because these guys would definitely think Aikido is one of those BS styles, but I was still training in it at the time, on and off. For 4 years I trained in Aikido, and the attitude that I had towards Aikido was that even though I can't make it work right now, it's because I don't understand it. Whereas these guys would say, I can't make it work, therefore it's BS. I said to myself, somewhere along the line, if I went this straight path the way I'm going, and Aikido's right here, then maybe right now I'm here. So I'm not able to get there, so I don't understand that yet. But the way that I'm wired, I need to go this route. So I need to go in a longer path, so instead of just going straight to Aikido right here, I have to go circular, and I have to go train in Thai boxing, wrestling, in BJJ. I have to train in these styles, and then maybe I'll get to Aikido, and then the full circle will be complete or something like that. That was kind of the way I viewed it. So, I still had a respect for Aikido in some way, shape, or form, and I was quick to say that I can't make it work, but that doesn't mean Aikido doesn't work. So that's the main difference between myself and these guys here. So I hope that, when you have that attitude where you feel that a style is ineffective, rather than the practitioners are ineffective, or if you feel like a style is bullshit rather than the practitioner is bullshit, that's going to put you further off the path, in my opinion, because ultimately you have to be responsible for yourself and say, I was not able to understand the style. I was not able to make the style work for me. That's on me. That's my fault. That's not the style's fault. That's what you got to say. Now, if the instructor is full of crap, like they are, saying that train in 1 week with us and you'll be able to defend yourself on the street, well, then that guy is full of crap, but that doesn't mean that the style is. And the other thing I want to say is that, you go to a college class and you're taking calculus, and if you said calculus is bullshit, no one's going to take you seriously. The instructor's going to throw you out, you're going to fail the class, and all they're going to say to you is that, you weren't able to study and understand calculus. That's your fault. You sucked at calculus, not that calculus sucks. So I don't know why we don't have the same mentality with martial arts, So people need to, I think, stop that kind of viewpoint where they're blaming the styles, or judging a person by a style. You judge me as what? That I'm the Eskrima guy? And if you ever fought me, you're gonna be in a rude awakening, because you can't judge me as a style. I'm a human being, and I do more than that, So that would be silly. But I just feel like people are hiding behind the style because it's consumer mentality. The style has turned into a brand. That's what it is. And I would like for people to see martial arts as not a brand, not as a product you buy, but as something that you nurture and you grow. So it's what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And learning martial arts is basically you learning how to learn. And ultimately what is important to me is becoming a good student in martial arts. If you're a good student in martial arts, it doesn't matter the style. You could go to any school and you'll be able to learn their stuff good because you're good. Not because the style's good, but because you're good. So that became my focus later on once I started understanding this kind of thing. And that's what I started doing. My actual goal became, after college, I want to be a good student in martial arts. So no matter what school I go to, I could go to the shittiest school on the planet, but I know because I'm a good student that I'm not going to get brainwashed, and I'm not going to get brainwashed into thinking something that doesn't work is going to work, or have the instructor's warped viewpoint, warped perspective, thinking that I'm going to be invincible on the street when I'm not, or something. That none of that's going to affect me because I'm solid, because I'm a good student. And even if I went to the worst style, that I could still make something of it and make it beneficial for me. So it doesn't matter if I went to the best style in the world, the second best style in the world, third best style in the world, the worst style in the world. None of that mattered. What mattered was that I knew that I was going to put in a lot of good effort into it, and I was going to put in creative ways to learn, and it's me that I'm going to do a good job, essentially. So that is what I like to pass down to you guys, and please get away from the style bashing, the technique bashing. All that is just, to me, it's an antiquated way of thinking. You're living with the dinosaurs if that's the way that you think, and it's extremely disrespectful too, extremely. And the bottom line is, like I said, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. You're gonna meet dudes, if you train long enough in the martial arts, if you're involved long enough in the martial arts for real. And I don't mean just talking on the internet like this, but I mean you've actually trained with people from other styles and stuff. You're going to meet kung fu guys that you thought certain kung fu style sucked. You're going to meet dudes that are good at it, that they're going to give you a run for the money, or they're going to wipe the floor with you. It's just going to be a matter of time that you're going to meet people like that. You're going to meet an Aikido-ka that can take you out. And then at the end of the day, if you were like me back then, I just made a bunch of excuses. But hopefully you'll be more mature than I was. So sorry this video became so long, but I just felt so disturbed that I had to make this video. And if you have stuck around this long, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you're able to make sense out of this video. Thank you for watching, and take care, folks.